The sky turned black, the stars fell down. United we stand, but we're losing ground. One world beneath the iron fist. Voices silenced, they cease to resist. Echoes of hope in the darkening night. Fading whispers of a long lost light. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust. A phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust.
Good evening, everybody, and want to welcome you all. This is kind of a hard thing to talk about because there's so much information I'm going to be putting out tonight. I hope some of you all are taking notes. I'm going to be putting things up on the screen here. I've got with me in the studio. Hell, let's just put it this way, spare bedroom. And I'm going to be going through and covering quite a bit of information. So please, if you're capable, take notes, and you can even further your own research with what I found out. Okay. Let's hope Eric is okay. If he's listening, please let somebody know that you're okay. Contact Marcy or Roxanne or somebody. I want to say hello to David, DeCisil, Urso, Roxanne, Joanne, Lug the Mongrel. Oh, thanks for being here, man. So many of you in the chat already, so thank you all for being here. I know I'm going to mess this up tonight a little bit, but bear with me. I just got my voice back the other day, and needless to say, I'm pretty quiet around here, though, except for me hacking my lungs up. But other than that, you know, it's been okay. We're recovering slowly. Anyways, you all know how this goes. And I changed my intro and my music to my own music and my own intro because I have been getting hammered with copyright complaints from Nigeria, and Algiers, and God knows where else, Somalia, Tanzania, I mean, you name it, okay? So obviously there's others that are listening that like to try and encroach upon, you know, the information, or try to poo-poo it, let's put it that way. But the information tonight is about the Cherokee Giant, Judaculla. Those of you that know and that are Cherokee in the chat, and I know there's several of you, I'm going to go down a road that you never probably even thought of. So you definitely might want to take notes. To my brother, the Red Pill Preacher, who's in the chat, please take notes because we usually bring this up on your podcast with the other brother, with D, and talk about this further if you want. Anyways, Jonas, good to see you. All right, let me get this going here. As you can see by this photograph here, that's a representation of Judaculla, okay? You know, there's so much to be said about this whole, let me get this off of here so you can see me, because I'm going to be doing a lot tonight with my hands and holding things up, and well, if I can find that to get that off of there. There it is. Okay. There we go. Okay. And I've got my boards here, and I'm going to be referring to them too. And I've got my boards down here that I'm going to be holding up. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to show you all, this is why I have been so animate about studying the Appalachian Mountains. Okay. It's literally the backbone in what we call America. And I think that when you start looking at the whole span of things, as I try to explain it to the best of my ability, because I'm not a rocket scientist by any ways and means. I'm just a simple man, a simple Native man with Cherokee blood and Lakota blood in me that believes wholeheartedly that there is something that is going on that is far above and beyond just your typical paranormal stuff. In fact, I wouldn't even categorize it as paranormal. I'd categorize it as bizarre. Okay. And I want to show you discovered. And I hope you all can see this. I'll be coffee out of the way so I can show you all. Okay. And by the way, YouTube and Google and anybody else that's interested, everything tonight that we're discussing is my own property and my own copyrights to it. So, including the music. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Google. All right. That being said, I am disclosing tonight that you have literally got an Appalachian triangle. Okay. And I'm going to show you. It starts, I want you to basically draw a line on a map from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, okay, across and over to Washington, D.C., okay. So you're going to go from Point Pleasant, West Virginia to Washington, D.C., okay. And then you're going to go down all the way down past South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, into Georgia to where the Mayan ruins are. Okay. Pretty much the end of the state of Georgia to the southwest of it is where you want to go with marking that point. Hence the Appalachian Triangle, folks. I give you the Appalachian Triangle. Hasn't been mapped, hasn't been marked out, but okay, in this area. And I'm still doing a worldwide study too, by the way, for gateways and portals. But as we talk about Judaculla, we have to remember that out of every native legend, they are based off of fact. Okay. Whether people want to admit it or not, there is legitimacy in the indigenous beliefs and legends in the Americas. Now, here's the thing. The Cherokee Nation and the Lakota Nation are technically the same. Okay. I've already, showed you and talked about briefly about how in around 1240 AD, that a branch of the Cherokee Nation separated. Goes the internet. Okay. Anyways, a branch of the Cherokee Nation separated from the main body of the Cherokee people around 1240 AD. They became the Lakota people. They traveled all the way across into the northern plains, okay, all the way down, and they basically from there intermixed with other nations around there, and the Shawnee were born, the Ojibwe were born. They were all, pretty much cousins, okay, to us, our bloodline. And we respected them greatly. We had our differences, but we respected them. Okay. Anyways, the legend goes with Judaculla that the Cherokee Nation back before the 1200 and something were praying to him basically, kind of like he was a god. or a demigod type of a character. Okay. I believe that based off of what I've found out, that Judaculla, let me see here, a representation of his hand shows you right here. This is a representation of his handprint on the Judaculla rock. Now, the Judaculla rock is located in Kyle, North Carolina. Okay, so in Kyle, North Carolina, or Silva, North Carolina. I don't know why I say Kyle. Probably because Kyle's in the chat. You'll find Judaculla rock. Okay, and on this rock, you're going to find all kinds of markings. Okay. That sits pretty much in almost ideally in the main mass of the triangle, believe it or not. It's almost like the heartbeat of the triangle. Okay. Now, Judaculla rock is a very sacred stone. Okay. It's got markings all over it. Okay. Here's another rendition of it. It has all these little holes in there. And that's actually that part of one of the handprints, I believe. But it has all these little holes within the rock itself. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Let me show you another aspect of it here. Well, I'll have to show you on my phone because StreamYard only allows me to upload so many photographs. But you can see some of the holes on here. Okay. Here is what I'm looking at to show you guys. Let me pull the picture up. Let me take this down. And I'm going to hold it up to the screen so you can see this. Let me take this down. This is what I wanted to show you, but it wouldn't let me upload it. Okay. There are literally hundreds of holes within this rock, Judaculla rock. Okay. This rock was said that the way the legend persists is basically, and I do have the Cherokee, the blood in me, and the Lakota blood, by the way. I'm considered a Judaculla, a holy man. And I'm also an ordained minister, believe it or not, that I never divulged. But it's for the Native American church. So I do a lot of the ceremonies as Christian oriented as possible to my people. But staying within the basic traditional values too of the indigenous culture, which is not an easy thing to do. I have a piece of what I'm talking about with the holes. Okay. These holes are a representation, in my belief. Now, see, the Cherokee people tell the legend as they represent a star pattern, because in that same rock where he pushed his hand into the sandstone and made that seven finger imprint, not 6, 7 finger imprint. Okay. And we're going to get to that. So hold on. Anyways, he drew a line supposedly, and below that line is told the Cherokee Nation that they need to do a ceremonies and certain offerings and stuff before they go into his territory where he lived, okay, when he was flesh and bone, and as an offering, okay. And if anybody ever went in there and hunted and all that on his domain without his permission, a wrath would befall them, okay, and possibly even be unalived. Well, that very day that handprint was made, there was a Cherokee hunting party that basically went in there to hunt for game for their people. And Judaculla found them there, and he became angry. Okay. And when he became angry, he got so frustrated and angry that he jumped from the mountaintop down to the valley floor below. And as he did, and as he landed, his hand went down onto the soapstone and imprinted within the soapstone his 7 fingers. Okay. Which, by the way, is the reason that Native people today still say how and hold up their hand. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the whole reason. Okay. Not 6, not 7, but 5. Okay. The whole purpose of it was to determine, and everything that indigenous people did, they did things to determine if something was supernatural, whether something was good, whether something was evil. The whole purpose of their way of life was that way. And you have to ask yourself, why? Well, as I stated in the beginning, with the Appalachian Triangle, you have this massive area that the Cherokee Nation and all the sub-tribes used within that area, including the Mayan that were down in Georgia. So that whole area of that massive triangle has been influenced over thousands of years by non-traditional Christian belief. Okay. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to try my best without losing my voice to continue. Judaculla, the Cherokee Giant, chased out the Cherokee hunting party, and basically the results of that day ended up Judaculla becoming Judaculla. Now, those of you that know the legend of Judaculla know that he's a type of a supernatural being. I guess you can describe him as a Bigfoot with red glowing eyes. Now, something that Dennis and I have always said from day one of the podcast was that when you're dealing with something supernatural, you're dealing with something that's going to show you signs that it is supernatural. And I'm not talking normal eye shine like the green or the yellow you see when you shine deer or coyote and all that. I'm talking serious red illuminated eyes like Mothman. Okay. Perfect example. Which, by the way, I believe is a fallen angel. I put it out there. Okay. Judaculla, on the other hand, I believe he might have been a fallen angel. The Cherokee Nation is a nation of indigenous people that don't have medicine men. Okay. That's not to say that they don't follow a medicine belief or a spiritual path. Okay. The Cherokee people, my descendants of my mother's side of the family, had Adaways. Okay. They were super spiritual leaders representing basically the four directions, which ironically, doesn't the cross have four directions? Doesn't the medicine wheel that all indigenous cultures in America represent in their culture, no matter what color scheme it is, represent four directions? The north, the south, the east, the west. Kind of funny, don't you think? Okay. The name that we're going to start with is the representation of the holy men, okay, which are otherwise known as priests, okay, for the Cherokee Nation. Now, the Cherokee Nation does not have medicine men or shaman, okay? In fact, shamans are from South America. Hate to break it to everybody that says they're a shaman, but if you are, then you're from South America. So, that being said, they have holy man called Adaway. Okay. See that right there that I underlined? Adawehi. Okay. That is the name of the holy men for the Cherokee Nation. Okay. I broke that down. I came out to the conclusion that it represents a more significant biblical, believe it or not, aspect of the Cherokee people being connected to the lost tribe of the Israelites that sinned and their skin turned red. Just my results. You don't have to agree with me or not, but I'm telling you, if you investigate it yourself, you're going to see that there's so many coincidences that it makes it uncanny that you can't deny that there's a connection. Okay. I believe Judaculla, being a seven-fingered giant, represented a hierarchy of the Nephilim. Okay. I would even say that he is literally the fallen angel representation. Okay. In physical form. Okay. Because he was gifted with seven fingers, not just six. You always hear about giants having six fingers and how big they were and how they unalived humans and, they just, they were all killed off. Well, some of those bodies turned to some of the mountains that we walk upon today. Okay. Some of those giants' remains are underneath our feet. So when you're walking down the Appalachian Trail and you're wondering why things are a little creepy or just not right, remember this. The Appalachian bloodline believes to carry a devil's blood. Okay? That is literally not far off from the truth about how the Appalachian Mountains were formed. Okay? You see, those representations of all those holes on the Judaculla rock is a representation, I believe, of the fallen angels. Okay? Not Lucifer's fall from grace, or it very well could be. Maybe I've got it confused with, the 200 and some. Okay? It could be either or. But the point is that is a symbolism of fallen angels. Okay? Now, we all know what happens when angels fall. They become things that they're not representing to the Heavenly Father anymore. Okay? So we don't see them as, let me see here. We see them on petroglyphs and stuff around America with this representation, which ironically, why would a non-angelic being have a sword? Why would a non-angelic being have 6 fingers? These are representations of a supernatural being. Others have interpreted this as a king, representation of a king. No, this is a giant. This is a Nephilim, okay, that you see on this rock. This is literally why the flood happened. Descendants of the giants of old were actually fathered by the angels that fell. Okay, hence Judaculla. Okay, the 7 fingers. Now, I can go further in depth with this, but I'm sure you know the correlation that I'm coming to. Now, let me take that down. And I'm going to show you the rest of this that I have. The name. I broke the name down. Okay. Right here. Ada We. Okay. Equals Adam's son, or sons of Adam, or Adam's children. Why do you think, of all names to give your holy men who are considered priests a name representing the words Adam and son, or Adam's children? Well, the word son, Yuetzi, okay, is the word son, okay, equals son, okay. There's all of it. I want you guys to be able to see the whole thing. I believe Judaculla is literally a first descendant of a fallen angel. Okay, I really do. Fallen angel bloodline, giants equals Nephilim. Okay. Now remember, all the weird stuff that happens in what I call the Appalachian Triangle that I've found so far, from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to Washington, D.C., all the way down to Georgia, where the Mayan ruins are, okay? And every place in between is a representation of paranormal at its peak, okay? That land is so supercharged with the Nephilim bloodline, those mountains, those hollers, that most people will never believe. I've done when I was not a Christian, okay, believe it or not, I did ceremonies in those mountains. I did curses in those mountains, Native American curses. I did some dark medicine within those mountains. The rock that I got this off of, I called Skinwalker Rock for a reason. I gave that information in that picture, one of the pictures I have, to Jessica Jones on her podcast the other night when Eric was on there. And my last ceremony that I did was in the 80s. And after I got done doing my ceremony, and I that ceremony that I did, I was very close. I was on the West Virginia line to West Virginia and Kentucky, in a place in Logan County. And I did a ceremony on a certain mountain that I don't want to, or an overlook that I don't want to disclose at this time, that I called Skinwalker Rock. Okay. And after I did that ceremony, I felt a shift, a change. You have to understand that when you are immersed within evil, nothing good comes of it. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if that same time when I ended that ceremony, which was a 3-day ceremony, I'm not sure if that exact time is when that rock broke off. But within that same time span in the 80s, they found that rock laying in the middle of the road. And it was the size of a freaking van, a Ford Econoline van, if not bigger. Shattered off the cliff wall, slid down, rolled down into the road. Here's a representation of the picture that I put out for Jessica. No, not that one. Where is it? That one. The representation of the claw marks. Everybody says, oh, they're ruins. No, man. Those are claw marks, dude. Those aren't ruins. That's a representation of skinwalkers. Didn't call it Skinwalker Rock for nothing. And yeah, that's a 5-pointed star on there. So imagine how many times that star, which technically probably isn't even pointing. No, it's not actually. This picture was taken upside down. So reverse that. That center point up top, that should be on the bottom. Yes, folks, that's your witch's symbol. The same thing Dennis talked about tonight too, by the way. You see, when we do certain ceremonies, we call in spirits and demons and whatnot, whatever you want to call them. We invoke their power to come into us, okay? Just like some of these up here. Got Fur, a demon that controls Wendigo, Bigfoot, and Dogman. Allah, A-LA. Another one that controls Bigfoot, Lizardman, Dogman. You have Rakshasha, okay? Controls Wendigo, Bigfoot, Dogman. Demons described as reptilians. Demons. The connection with Judaculla, transferring his body into the ground and becoming supernatural in spirit form as Judaculla, the red-eyed giant, that is said to have powers to mystify the human mind and to put you in a trance when you're hiking along the Appalachian Trail and you see those bright red glowing eyes and you get mystified and you get put into this spell. He has the power to take you in and out of this world into his. That's why they say people disappear. If that's not a representation of a demon with red glowing eyes, then it's a representation of a bloodline that is tainted with evil. Now, you have to ask yourself, how did the Cherokee people get involved with Judaculla? How did this whole thing happen? Well, you see, that part of the legend is kind of mysterious. But I believe that it's a direct result, and this is only theory, I believe that it's a direct result of when all the land masses were together. Because you see, if you actually look at the world map, the flat earth map, okay, yes, I'm going to go there, okay, not the global map, okay, I'm sorry, folks, cover your ears, to my Christian brothers and sisters out there, cover your ears, but the global map is a crock of shit, okay? Anybody, including the Cherokee people, know that, the flat earth is what it is, okay? But anyways, back then, the land masses separated, things shifted, tectonic plates shifted, the giants died off and became the land masses and shifted around. Mountains were formed after the waters receded from the flood. But some of them survived. Some of them are spirit. Nephilim mind virus, if you remember, I talked about that already, that have the ability to possess animals and humans, to mimic animals and humans, a representation of shapeshifting, and feeding off of your fear, which is a demonic thing, okay? Which is, by the way, the same thing I used to do when I did the dark arts Native American ceremonies. I used to get my energy from your fears. Not anymore. I've gone through several different things showing you some of the Christian representation within the Cherokee Nation. And I'm not done. There is so much that I'm going to refer back to my camera, if I can find it. All right, let's go back. Go back on this device. All right, let's see here. Okay. All right. So we went through the term of the Cherokee people used, which was Attaway. Okay. which is a representation of the phrase Adam's son or children of Adam. Okay, gone through that. All right, so we got that covered. I showed you the six-fingered petroglyph with the sword as a representation. Some interpret it as a king. I interpret it as a fallen angel, okay, or Nephilim. Also, I want you to see something that I connected to well, let's just put it this way. The demonic spirit that you all have been seeing or saying you're seeing that has antlers, that you all claim to be a Wendigo, and it's not a Wendigo. Okay? It's not a skinwalker. Not everything is a skinwalker. Not everything is a Wendigo. Okay? Hate to break it to you. Okay? That is just the way of it. What you have here is a demonic representation of a Celtic deity whose name translates to the horned one. Okay? Cenerus. Cernunnos. Cernunnos. Write that down. Look at that word. What do you see? The first four letters. CERN. Anybody that thinks CERN is not opening portals to release dark beings and entities like this, the horned one, who is widely recognized as Lord of the Wild Things. Okay? Lord of the Wild Things. Here he is. I'm going to show you. Right there. If you don't think that that being is a representation of something demonic, something connected to the Nephilim bloodline, just like Sukla, just like well, let's just say we've got so many we're going to go over tomorrow morning. It's going to blow your mind, and that's just one of them. And by the way, the reason that this deity is showing up is because it is a demonic being. It's not a malevolent, loving, kitty petting, snuggle bunny thing that you want to have around you. It's going to come at you with veracity. And by the way, Judaculla was a protector of the environment and the wildlife within that environment. That's why he went after the Cherokee hunting party. That Cherokee hunting party is the same bloodline that separated from the Cherokee Nation all those years ago and became the Lakota Nation. There's so much information here that I can't disclose it all in one night, especially with losing my voice. But there is other information I need you to know. The Cherokee legend of the giant Judaculla, otherwise known as Sukula, the red-eyed Bigfoot. The red-eyed Bigfoot that actually is a supernatural entity that transfers itself physically into this world from the spirit realm, the supernatural realm. Wherever demons go and then enter our world, you're going to be faced with red, glowing eyes. I've seen it in Sukula. I've seen it in Mothman. I've seen it in hunters coming across red-eyed, hairy beings and dogmen, chasing them down out of the woods, some of them almost becoming unalive from it, certainly being scared so much that they don't go back hunting again. These are all demonic representations of the same demons that protect the wildlife and the environment. Why do you think that those demons are so hell-bent on protecting the environment and the wildlife and keeping humanity away from it? It's all the same. It's all the same. So when you're dealing, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more times until I am gone. When you're dealing with something with red eyes that are glowing like flashlights, you're dealing with a demon. There's no other word for it. You're dealing with pure evil. And it's going to protect the land that its bloodline is buried in. So all the encounters that you hear of and you see around America, where you have reports of red-eyed Bigfoots becoming violent and chasing hunters away, being aggressive and stuff and charging and all that and chasing hunters out of the woods, record those locations. And I guarantee when you find out the coordinates like I did with the Appalachian Triangle, you're going to realize there's so many other places in this world where these very demons reside. And why? It's because their bloodline is the ground, literally the ground that you walk upon. The Nephilim bloodline. I'm surprised that my voice has held out so long. I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to pop up some pictures on here. See, this is what the problem is. Herein is the problem, okay? When you're dealing with Judaculla, a seven-fingered giant, we got to remember that he is literally you can literally take that interpretation right there, the son of perdition. Think about it. Judaculla, Judas, implying a loss to a final condemnation. There's a lot to be said when it comes to the language that's used. And, it's my interpretation that it's because of this that there's so many different dialects, because it's kept that way to keep humanity confused from finding out the truth. It's one of those things like Bigfoot having a different name no matter where it's located in the world. It has a different name because there's different languages, okay, and different descriptions of it. But it's all the same. So I give you your demons, plural. And I've proven that time and time again with what I have on my wall. Now, for those of you that don't believe that the triangles exist, think again. I'm telling you, you're going to find a pattern. And I'll go one step further. Why do you think DC was so valuable to the founders? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought about the layout of DC? Yeah. Me too. Blew my mind when I realized that those roads were designed and that layout was designed for one intent and one intent only. I give you a gateway. Yeah. I give you one of the gateways that is mentioned in the book of Enoch. You wonder why people disappear. You wonder why animals are acting differently. You wonder why shadows are moving like figures, like being in this world. You wonder why cave creatures are coming out of the caves and unaliving people. You wonder why there's Bigfoot with red eyes and Mothmen flying around with red eyes. It's not hard to do when you're dealing with the supernatural. It's not hard to do when you're dealing with something like the fallen angels. Shapeshifters at their finest. Oh, sure, we have our own through ritual and ceremony, curses and hexes, whatever you want to call them. Been there, done that. Now I'm just an old Indian who wants to help. And before I lose my voice, I want to thank the mods and stuff for taking care of the chat. I'm going to go to the chat right now. I'm going to pop something up here. I want you all to realize that what you see when you see these petroglyphs all around America, we were trying to tell you something, and humanity still didn't get it. Sure, some of them did, but a lot of them misinterpreted it. We were given a chance. We were given an opportunity. We were given a purpose, dominion. We were given a stewardship of a land. We were given a beautiful, beautiful landscape. that when darkness comes in the fog, and in the night, the shade of the moon, and we ruined it. We literally let evil in and let evil run it and let evil destroy it. Because that's what evil does. The only thing I can tell you right now is that the further I go in my research, the farther down the hole that I travel. And by the way, there's your 3 gateways right here in America. Smaller circles, portals. Portals shift, portals move. Portals can be opened up in ceremony, through devices, through frequency and sound, vibration. Portals are real, but they're so numerous and so easily to be opened and closed and moved around the whole world that you have to look for the gateways. Look where the one gateway is on the east coast of this map. Yeah. And ironically, these are all locations of missing people. But that one gateway is bigger than what I thought on this original map. Much bigger. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm still sick, guys. So bear with me. But yeah, that one gateway on the East Coast should extend almost all the way down to Florida, over into Alabama, halfway through Alabama, and up into Mississippi, and along that ways up into the Appalachian Mountain chain. See, my conclusion was that gateways were said to be round. I don't think that they're round. I think they can shift. Imagine that. They can shift form. Triangles, squares, circles, sacred geometry. Folks, I give you a world that has only begun to be discovered. No other words for it. When you have openings on the North Pole like this, which, by the way, those of you that follow me on Facebook know that my last post said something about this September in 2026. Well, coming out of the icy water. Where is that hole located, folks? In a very icy part of the world. And it's not Antarctica. It's the North Pole. It's an area that is said to have an entrance to another world. Hence, possibly, one of the main gateways. Just putting it out there. And I just saw a shadow person or being to my right in my room. Okay. Anyways, I will end with this. It's been an hour, and I'm surprised my voice held out as much. I got to sneeze again. Hold on. It's a coming. I love being sick, guys. I'm going to go to the chat, see if I can. By the way, I'm probably not going to be going through all the way through the chat. Hey, Corey, good to see you in here, man. This is just the tip of the icebergs, guys. This is just the tip of the iceberg. When you find out why the indigenous cultures of America chose the form of a medicine wheel being in the directions of a cross, and then you find out why indigenous people are coming up missing, and I'm sure they're going to blame human trafficking, they're going to blame illegal organ harvesting, they're going to blame drugs, gangs, and all this other BS. But I believe that it's a bloodline. And I believe that bloodline started with the bloodline of the Cherokee people. And that it's a slow, methodical process of eliminating a certain bloodline from existing. You know, one of the greatest chiefs of all time, Chief Sitting Bull, he said, I had a vision. The white buffalo came to me. I had a vision. The white men disappeared. Well, that vision was interpreted as that white bloodline intermixing with native bloodline. In other words, the purity of the European race hardly exists anymore. So now they've got this task, whatever deity that is in control, the evil that has gripped this world, that's in control, has the task to seek out this bloodline and determine whether it is part of this lineage of the old world, of the ancient ones. Which, ironically, you have another race of people that is disappearing at a high rate that has a certain type of genetics in them, which is German. Two complete polar opposites. But the two of the most common missing people, and I mean missing without a trace, that disappear around areas labeled and named after demonic entities, or the devil, the devil's chair, the devil's tower, the devil's rim, you know, the devil's triangle. It's all connected. Every bit of it is connected. So I leave you with this before I lose my voice completely. Stand by your faith. Pick up the good book. As long as you stand strong and show no fear and you stand in your faith, there's nothing that's going to happen to you. But you have to prove to the Creator, to God, that you are a warrior and you will stand in your faith. You have to. Because when it comes down to it, folks, faith is all we got. Trust me, I've been there. You don't want to be in the dark. You don't want to be associated with the dark. You don't. I had a taste of that. That's why I'm in the condition I'm in. I'm paying for my crimes. God bless you all. I'm going to try and come on in the morning again at 11 a.m. and I'll continue this then. Okay? So I will see everybody in the morning. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I wish I could have talked to you all, but without, Eric here, I just don't have it, and my voice is going. This is just the tip of the icebergs, guys. But wherever you're located, in America, Canada, Mexico, whatever country you're located in, I urge you to find the triangles. Find those weird locations that you can triangulate, and you can see how they're formed and why they're formed. And then the further you go down that rabbit hole, the further you're going to find that it has a deep, dark, demonic connection. The Appalachian Trail, that's just one. There's literally thousands of them in this world. God bless you all. Please, if you can, hit the like button, share this out. And like I said, I'll see you all in the morning, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm losing my voice. Love everybody very much. I will talk to you all later. And Corey, I'll talk to you later too. Take care, everybody. Stay strong in your faith. Without faith, we're nothing. Trust me, I know. I don't want to see what happens to me happen to you. Take care. God bless.
Through the mist we rise, a force unbroken, with banners high and hearts awoken. The sound of pipes, our war is calling. Like thunderous waves, our duty is falling. Stand tall, together we fight, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. In unity our hearts shall sing the legacy of warriors through every reign. With battle cries we forge our fate, in fields of valor we elevate. As shadows loom, our spirits gleam. Brothers in arms, we are the dream. Fearless, we take the night, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. In unity, our hearts shall sing the legacy of warriors through every reign. As dawn breaks, we know our name.